Assassin's Creed has been a very interesting game throughout its past, starting with Assassin's Creed all the way up to Assassin's Creed Odyssey. We had a great landscape throughout history, along with the great story and gameplay this game always encompasses. We always have a historic accuracy of the places and people's deaths. The way they died has probably been skewed to fit Assassin's Creed, but other than that, it's pretty accurate. With recent events of Notre Dame, we noticed that this game has been brought to light, especially Assassin's Creed Unity. And the question is, can video games actually help with the real world? We'll look at Assassin's Creed Unity to see how it can help Notre Dame. So Assassin's Creed Unity came out in 2014, and if you remember the launch day, you probably remember scenes like this. Or this. So it had a rough start, but the scenery of the game has remained intact and very well formed. You could see this throughout the whole capturing of the French Revolution, and Notre Dame is a very big standout building here. And this is all thanks to Caroline Mose, who spent 2 years mapping out Notre Dame in various ways of looking at pictures and all, and she actually never visited until after her model was almost complete. But she did an excellent job. This was almost mapped to brick by brick, and it kept the scenery there. Note that I mentioned earlier that they try to keep to historic as possible, and this is a little inaccurate of Notre Dame at this time because the spire did not exist. It was actually taken down about 10 years before this game took place and added during the 19th century. So they kind of keep buildings how people think of them and close to historic as possible. The building here was scaled to 1-to-1 ratio, so it's pretty much like you are actually walking through the building. So now this spared the question, can this game actually help with the reconstruction after the fires? Well, if we start by looking at the outside of the building and comparing pictures here, we can kind of help see. So here's a side view of the cathedral, and you can see here how it looks to game. Notice the spots are a little different because due to copyright laws, the stained glass could not be incorporated in the game, along with the organ and some various statues. But we see we get pretty good detail of how well this mapped to the real world. Like, I could see pretty obvious and see how helpful there. If we go along the back side where the fire was actually taking place, where the spire was, we can see pretty close how we can make things work there. Obviously, we're a little further back. The game rendering did not incorporate this well, so it's a little harder to see. But if we zoom in closer into this pictures that we're taking here, we can kind of see how we can maybe use this to outline that. And this is actually kind of amazing that we have this much detail in a video game where I can almost compare real-world pictures with in-game. So now, one last shot here, kind of a side street. It was kind of hard to capture because the buildings were laid out differently in Unity than in real life. Things change over time, obviously, so this was kind of cool that I could still do this. But now let's move on inside, where we get kind of a different story going on. We could see here through the doors, we got this look here of the top, and we can see we could kind of make out how to reconstruct the top view there. Also looking at the ceiling, we have this red fire going on, and you can kind of tell where we can place there. Next, we have the stained glass view. The background, again, you can tell the stained glass is slightly different, but looking at the roof, we could construct this. Now, a long hallway shot. I think it was just kind of cool to capture this in a game, I'm not going to lie. So this was kind of awesome to get. And you can start seeing how we can manipulate this. One last shot through the door to kind of end this little section. We can look at the statues are very different. Again, copyright laws there. We kind of don't have that main structure there. So there is things missing from the game. Other than that, I think this is a very good comparison of what it is in real life. I can actually kind of take this and look at it and start reconstructing with it. Would this be needed to reconstruct it? this is little of a stretch. It does make a nice headline. Video game helps save cathedral. But actually, Andrew Tallon, the next year, actually did some laser mapping of the building. And here's a point map view of that structure here, of what he has digitalized. And they actually did some wireframings to some 3D renderings, which I'm kind of showing here. These measurements here are probably really good and will help rebuild Notre Dame in a better position than using the game as is. Also a site that tracks different Gothic buildings from the time period called mappinggothic.org. And this has a lot of pictures of Notre Dame, which you could see here. So they have like a pretty elaborate view of all the pictures of it before the fire. So this is another resource that they could use in conjunction with the game and what Andrew Tallon has done. That being said, Caroline did a lot of work which probably wasn't incorporated in the game, and I think that work could also be helpful there. So overall, using pure Unity to rebuild Notre Dame, just the game itself, I could see standouts where it's possible, but it is a little of a stretch. I think it would be a little hard there, and capturing some of it, and especially with the changes they had to do to incorporate copyright laws and little touches. Obviously, there's structures everywhere that I can climb in this game versus real life, so there's some modifications there, but in today's world where we're actually considering comparing a video game to help with something real world, I think that shows how far games have gotten. We're able to do this comparison, and I don't think it's even bad, and I'm actually having fun exploring the cathedral now. So I think with games getting state they are and requiring these, we are getting techniques to help save older structures, and I'm sure Assassin's Creed has been working hard to do that, and I'm sure they're providing help. Obviously, Assassin's Creed Unity was released free to help with the restructure of the cathedral, so they are putting support in there, and with the help of Andrew Tallon's work also, they could be support there, but that point mapping was very detailed. So I'm still glad that we can compare video games like this. I think it's amazing that we have gotten that far from basically the Atari ages to now looking at how we can help. So this was a little background of how Assassin's Creed Unity could actually help. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more video game content. And I hope you enjoyed this video.